Welcome back to the Police Recruiting Show. I'm back again with Doug Larsen, the CEO of Safeguard Recruiting. Folks, their success is unmatched, and you've got to listen to some of the things they say. If you just listen to this show, your recruiting is going to get better. Doug, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Travis.
You know, Doug, law enforcement is so used to just throwing money at an issue, money at a problem, and it gets solved, right? You need a computer, you need a car, we throw money at it. And we've seen this in recruiting. We've seen departments spend millions of dollars on recruiting efforts, and really it's for naught in almost every case that I know they've come to you with, because oftentimes your clients will come to you, Doug, after they spent X, Y dollars here and X, Y dollars there, and they finally find some of your content. They figure out this is the way to go, and they end up calling you. What are some of the things they're telling you they were trying to do beforehand that just wasn't working?
Yeah, little bit of anything and everything. We've seen the craze of getting those recruiting videos out there. We've got the websites, the join whatever department websites pushing information. We've got the marketing blitzes, even radio, TV ads. We've seen dragging banners across football games, you name it. It's all out there trying to get people interested in working for departments.
Yeah, and it's just not working. And the reason it's not working is it has to be recruiting centric, but more than just recruiting centric, where you're getting leads in, you're getting candidates in, you're getting people in that want to work for the agency. You have to do something with those names. I think this is the big misnomer, because I think you've probably had a few clients that didn't catch all that. They caught some of what you were saying. Yeah, we want to be recruiting center. We want to get names in, and you're giving them hundreds, if not thousands of people that want to work for the agency. But it takes a little more than that. And that's when we talk about processes. What are your processes like? 'Cause I know a lot of times, Doug, and if you didn't know this, contact Doug over at safeguardrecruiting.com. They will give you a free consultation on your process. You can tell them what you're doing now, and they'll just give you some tips on how to secure that. Oftentimes, just fixing the processes can go a long ways with recruiting, depending on your needs. And so it's more than just getting names in. So let's say a department, they hire you guys, and they're getting, let's just say, 100 names a month that want to work for that department. And that's easy. Okay. And it's fairly cheap too. People would be shocked at how inexpensive that is compared to what all these videos and websites are costing. But the 100 names isn't enough, is it? What do they have to do with those 100 names to make sure they get quality hires?
Exactly, Travis. So getting the names, believe it or not, is the easy part of this whole process. It is easy. 100 names, easy to generate. We can get interest in your department. There is interest in working in law enforcement. There are a lot of people out there. Getting the names is the easy part. Keeping that interest, keeping them in the process, that is where we got to make some adjustments. That's where the timelines can get really long to get into law enforcement. The amount of information you need to give. Some of these departments have 30 to 100 page documents that have to be filled out before you can even enter the process. The communication, either lack of communication or amount of communication, it all builds upon itself. So I'm telling you right now, generating interest, generating candidates for your department is actually really the easiest part of this. And we try and educate and help with all steps of this so there's success. We don't want anybody that once they sign up and say they want to work for your department, we don't want anything to derail that for that candidate or for the department. But there's a lot that has to be changed along the way. Kind of the mindset, right? If you're going to come into that recruiter role, it's not I'm going to sit back and wait for people to call me or information to come. You really need to be very proactive.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that you've seen, right? Is the recruiter role kind of still is like the role from the 90s, where people they called you, they inquired with you. The generation today needs information. Over information is what they need, and they need quick communication. So if you get names in and you're not contacting them for 4, 5, 6 days, the drop-off rate on that is very, very big. And so what they need to do, right, is and I know you guys set this up, Doug, with your software, where they're getting automatic messaging for 2 or 3 days. But if that recruiter doesn't pick up that ball, so to speak, and start messaging them back and forth, they pretty much are getting a candidate that's not going to move forward, because they have a lot of concerns, right? You got to think about most job applications. Man, you fill out a form, you're done. Well, law enforcement's not like that. you got to fill out more than a form just to take the exam. And so you get a lot of people that just get nervous. Well, how do you fight that? Communication.
There's got to be a lot of communication, Travis. We see this a lot, and you brought up an excellent point. They fill out what they think is an interest form, and they think they've applied, but it's not an application. There's a lot that has to happen. Matter of fact, a lot of departments, you've got to register for uh, a website or a certain format to be able to even access the application. Then there's a lot of information that goes into that application. And sometimes the department won't even talk to you until you get to this level. Well, somebody getting into law enforcement might have a lot of questions for you, or they might have some concerns, and they might want to know, hey, I've got something in my background, am I going to get disqualified? And so until they get that cleared up, they don't keep moving along in the process, or they don't want to commit the time to fill out your 50-page document if they don't feel like you're interested. I'll tell you right now, communication is the key here. You hit it right on the head. And at Safeguard, we recognize that because we'll help you. We know that it can take 7, 8 points of contact before somebody's going to move forward or engage with you. We'll handle those first 3 for you because we don't want to lose anybody that's interested in working for your department until the recruiter can engage with them. And then we are training and helping recruiters in how they should best engage these candidates and keep them informed and keep them moving along. But along with that, Travis, when you're dealing with volume, is you got to deal with efficiencies, because a lot of these departments only have 1 or 2 recruiters, and they can't be calling 300 people. They can't individually be texting or emailing 300 people. So we need to introduce a lot of efficiencies into these processes to make this work. And we help departments with that because it's very important. Communication is so key to not only relieving the stress, but making sure everybody knows what the process is, what the next steps are, and that they've done things properly to keep engaged in the process.
Yeah, I know you introduced your applicant tracking software for these efficiencies, Doug. It makes it very, very easy. You've got a client where over the course of a few months, they've got 150 people that are in the hiring process. That means they've taken the test, they've taken the physical fitness, they've walked them through all that. And there's only 2 recruiters doing that. And the guy says, there's no way we could have done this without this software, just keeping up with it, because that software helps you keep track of every step of the way in the process. And that communication doesn't stop just because they take a test, right? Because every step of the process, there's concerns. And, it could be just a scheduling issue, or it could be, I'm nervous about doing it. And so keeping that communication up, even in a mass way, if you have everybody that's about to take the polygraph, boom, you can message all of them at once, right? Or text them all at once in your software. That's been a big thing for this agency that I'm talking about. They said that we could never have done this without it. They would have never gotten the names, number one, without Safeguard, but they wouldn't have been able to get all those names through a hiring process without software. So that's been a big win for you guys, is it not?
Yeah, they're looking like champions. They're doing an excellent job. But if they were to do it the old way with a whiteboard or an Excel spreadsheet, then they couldn't keep up with 150 names and keep the efficiencies going in communication. So no, they are doing an excellent job. We love to see what they're doing, and we help out with the processes where we can. But they sure engage with it and have run with it, and they're seeing the successes of it. 150 people in there. I think they hired 20 in 1 week alone. I mean, those guys are really doing well.
Yeah, and if the audience would know what that cost, they would be shocked, because listen, there's a lot of, I don't want to call them scams out there, but there's a lot of misinformation about recruiting. You got a lot of companies that are swirling the drain around these departments because they know there's a need. They're making a lot of false promises. And once again, I'll repeat this. I've said this before. If anybody is trying to make you promises, you need to nail them down. This is how many people I need to hire. Tell me a cost, right? And if they can't, or they waffle on that, you're talking to a company that really isn't interested in filling your spots. And it kind of makes sense from a business standpoint. Hey, if I never fill their spots, they're going to keep paying me. So you guys have unfortunately have been called by a lot of these departments that have spent a lot of money needlessly. It'd be great if they found you first, because you could fix their problem right up front.
Yeah, it would be great if we talked to them up front, and that's part of what we're just trying to show the differences between recruiting, marketing, and what the processes are, just to drive those efficiencies and the effectiveness for departments and change, right? We want to drive change and keep everybody current. And that's one thing you need to look at is, how current is my recruiting process, and how can I maximize that? What little changes can I do, and what big changes can I do? And really, it doesn't cost you a lot more money to do this.
Well, and when you talk about processes, the other thing's common sense, right? In addition to communication, hey, if you've got out of state candidates, put all your processes together in one day. Physicals in one day, the psychologicals maybe in the same day. Well, they don't have to keep traveling back and forth, right? Or when you have an entry level test, don't just have a test on a Wednesday morning. Have your Wednesday morning test, but have your Wednesday night test, have your Saturday test, because you have people that have to get off work. Maybe they're traveling to it. Give them multiple options. We've seen some agencies that say, hey, you can test on this day alone. Well, you've got to be open and flexible, right? Because remember, we're working with a generation that, like it or not, they're not going to try too hard to meet you where you are. You need to meet them where they are.
So stern, and that's a little bit about what your culture is that you're pushing out to these new recruits and things. You need to be careful with that, but people can't just take off work and travel to meet you, or you got to have multiple options. And we just assume a lot that people understand how I need to work out, how I need to prep for the written test. And let's help these folks along and make sure they're successful instead of making sure they're not successful. Let's do everything we can to be flexible with these people. And we see that in a lot of departments still, where it's, hey, this is when we're doing our testing. You either show up or you're out. And this is somebody that wants to work for you. Let's do what we can to maybe accommodate them too. And that kind of sends a little bit of a message too of what it would be like working for your department. Is, everybody wants some form of flexibility too. We know we got a job to do, but that you're going to understand I have some needs also.
Good stuff, Doug. If you want to dive deeper into this, keep watching our shows each week, but also go to safeguardrecruiting.com. We have a training section where you can get free training. You can get our entire seminar that we do on the ground around the country. It's going to give you so much information to help you. Trust me, do it. It's going to help you get more folks in, staff up. Doug Larsen, thank you for what you do for agencies and communities. This is The Answer, and thanks for doing it.
All right. Thank you.